Deep foundations are used in situations when the strata of good bearing capacity is not available near the ground, and when structural load is too heavy and topsoil is loose followed by dense soil. Deep foundations, that is nothing but depth of foundation is greater than width of foundation, can be of four types like pile foundation, pier foundation, well foundation, and caisson foundation. Now in this video we are going to learn some 10 important questions from pile foundations that are being asked in various examinations like GATE and ESE. Let's get into it. The first question. The first question is, the skin frictional resistance of a pile driven in sand does not depend on. When we consider a pile, there are two resistances offered. What is that? One is point bearing resistance and other one is skin frictional resistance. Here in this question, the skin frictional resistance of a pile driven in sand does not depend on which parameter that is asked. Option A, lateral earth pressure coefficient. Option B, angle of friction between pile and soil. Option C, pile material. Option D, total stress analysis. Lateral earth pressure coefficient means we denote that as K, small k. Angle of friction between pile and soil is nothing but the del. Pile material, it can be concrete or something else. Total stress analysis. So, what is a parameter that does not affect the total skin frictional resistance in case of pile driven in sand? Let's think about it for 10 seconds. So the parameter that does not affect is the total stress analysis in case of pile driven in sand. Now let's see other important points. In clays, total stress analysis is carried out. In clays only, total stress analysis is needed, which will be related to undrained shear strength. So what is undrained shear strength? Let's see in the other. Let's see in these 2 points. We will get clarity about it. Skin frictional resistance for sand is given by this formula. That is nothing but half into K gamma L tan del. K is the lateral earth pressure coefficient. It can be active or passive. That depends on the situation. Gamma is the unit weight. L is the length of pile. Del is the angle between pile material and the surrounding soil. So sand, in case of driven in case of pile driven in sand, it skin friction resistance depends on del K and the unit weight of sand unit weight. In case of clay, the frictional resistance depends on only one. What is that? Cohesion and the adhesion. Alpha is the adhesion factor. Cu is nothing but the undrained shear strength. So that's why we are carrying out this total stress analysis. So in case of clay only, total stress analysis is needed. In case of sand, total stress analysis is not needed. So in case of clay, Cu is the undrained shear strength, and in case of sand, C is 0. So that's why we are not getting here any cohesion term, and only the del term. Del is nothing but the angle between pile and surrounding sand. In case of clay, del is 0. That is the angle between pile and the clay is taken as 0. So that's why only alpha into Cu is there to calculate the skin frictional resistance in case of clay, in case of a pile driven in clay. Now let's see the second question. Second question is related to the under-rimmed piles. Ratio of bearing capacity of double under-rimmed pile to that of single under-rimmed pile is nearly. This is the single under-rimmed pile. This is the double under-rimmed pile. So what is the ratio between them of the bearing capacity? Option A 2.0, option B 1.2, option C 1.5, option D 1.7. So what is the ratio of bearing capacity, or we can say bearing capacity of double underrimmed pile is how many times the to that of the single underrimmed pile. So the ratio is 1.5. That is, bearing capacity of double underrimmed pile is approximately equal to 1.5 times the bearing capacity of the single underrimmed pile. Now let's see some more important points regarding these underrimmed piles. As per IAS code 2911 1973 part 3, this ratio is correct. So as per IAS code 2911, we can see that ratio of bearing capacity of these two underrimmed piles is approximately 1.5. This ratio is applicable to sandy soil, clayey soil, including black cotton soil. So what is the underrimmed pile? It is nothing but a cast in situ, and the bulb is to prevent the uplift or swelling pressure. Whenever there is some uplift or swelling pressure happening under the strata, the bulb will help to prevent those uplift or swelling pressure. And another criteria is the ratio of size of bulb to shaft is 2.5. Let's take ratio of bulb as dB and shaft as capital B. So that ratio shall be approximately 2.5. Not always, it can be approximately 2.5. Center to center spacing between bulbs shall not be less than 1.5 times the width of bulb. So what is the center to center ratio? This is the center to center ratio, we can say. This center to center spacing. This spacing shall not be less than 1.5 times the width of bulb or diameter of bulb, anything. What is the safe load criteria in case of underaimed pile? It can be two-thirds of final load at which 12 mm settlement happens, or we can say 50% of final load at which total settlement is 7.5% of bulk dia. So these two, by considering these two criteria, we can find the safe load. That is nothing but the two-thirds of final load when settlement is 12 mm, 50% of final load, then total settlement shall be 7.5% of bulk dia. So these are all some points about underrimmed piles that we have to be aware of. Now let's move on to third question. Third question is a numerical plus a MSQ type. MSQ means more than one option is correct. They have given some data like a group of 20 piles arranged in 4 rows. You can refer this diagram. Four rows and 5 columns of piles is arranged as a group. The diameter of each pile is nothing but d is equal to 400 mm. Center to center spacing is 1000 mm. Capacity of single pile is given as 380 kilonewton. Identify the correct options. So we have to calculate some of the things, and we have to identify the options. What are the things? Efficiency, we have to calculate efficiency, we have to calculate the capacity. So these are four options we have to calculate so that we can find efficiency and capacity. So in these, among these four options, exactly two options are correct. So what are those? One efficiency is correct, one capacity is correct. So this is like an MSQ type, multiple select question. Just we have to calculate using some basic formulas to get the answer. Efficiency formula and capacity formula to get the answer. You can pause this video, calculate and check it, and you can check the answer after time gets over. So the correct options are A and B. Efficiency of pile group is 62.5% and capacity of pile group is 4750 kilonewton. So how it is calculated? Let's see that. So QUP is 380 kilonewton. They have given the what is that capacity of single pile. N is 20, which is the total number of piles in this group. N is the 5. N is 5 means total number of columns. M is 4 means 4 rows. We can say as per the Converse-Laber formula. In Converse-Laber formula, efficiency can be found by using this formula. Eta z, or we can say efficiency of the pile group, is equal to 1 minus theta by 90 m into n minus 1 plus n into m minus 1 divided by m cross n. So by substituting the values of columns, number of columns and number of rows in this formula, we can get the answer for efficiency of pile group. So how to calculate this theta? Theta is nothing but the or tan inverse of d by s. D is the diameter of pile and s is the spacing. So by substituting the tan inverse of d is nothing but 400 mm divided by s. S is 1000 mm. So tan inverse of 400 by 1000 gives the answer as theta value 21.8 degree. So 1 minus 21.8 divided by 90 into m is nothing but the 4 into 5 minus 1 plus 5 into 4 minus 1 divided by 20 gives the answer as 62.5 percentage. So what is the capacity of pile group? By using this efficiency and the total capacity, by total capacity means n into individual piles. So how many number of piles are there? 20 into the individual piles, 380 into pile group efficiency, that is nothing but 0.625. If we substitute over this uh, those values in this formula, we can get the capacity of pile group as a whole, that is nothing but 4750 kilometer. Now let's move on to fourth question. The action of negative skin friction on the pile is 2. So negative skin friction is a one of the basic concept in pile foundation. Now let's see the options. Option A, to increase the ultimate load. Option B, to reduce the allowable load. Option C, maintain the working load. Option C, reduce the settlement. So among these four options, one is correct regarding the question. So action of negative skin friction is to what? What is the function? The time starts now. Just think about for 10 seconds. So the action of negative skin friction is to reduce the allowable load. It cannot increase the ultimate load, right? Because negative skin friction is a bad phenomenon that will decrease the ultimate load, decrease the allowable load. It cannot maintain the working load. It will increase the settlement too. So what are the other things we have to be aware of? It is a negative skin friction is a downward drag force that is happening over this, or we can say this downward drag force exerted on a pile by the soil surrounding it. So what are the reasons of this downward drag force? There one can be disturbance due to seismic effect, or it can be due to increase in surcharge over the surrounding soil, or it can be cohesive fill over a non-cohesive soil layer. What it means? Clay over a sand, lowering of water table, and it can be due to pile driven in a recently deposited layer. Recently deposited means it is not well compacted, or it can be very loose strata. So it can give chance to negative skin friction. So these are some reasons that will be responsible for negative skin friction. So the action of negative skin friction is to reduce the allowable load. Now let's move on to fifth question. The number of piles on which routine test should be performed is given by. So what is the routine test? It is one of the tests in a pile load test. Option A, 1.5 to 2 percentage of piles. Option B, 2 to 10 percentage of piles. Option C, 10 to 15 percentage of piles. Option D, none of the above. 1 to 2 percentage of piles, that means that if we are designing for about 10 to 20 piles, means we can use only 2 or 2 to 4 piles for routine test. This is the meaning of 1.5 to 2 percentage of piles. So how many number of piles that is needed to test the needed for routine test? So the correct option is option A, 1.5 to 2 percentage of piles needed for routine test. Now we shall see some other important points regarding the pile load test. Basically, pile load tests are divided into two, nothing but routine test and initial test. So what is the routine test? Routine test is carried out on working pile. Working pile means a constructed pile and it is in a state of working condition. And it is to check the working load. Obviously, it is to check the working load. What is an initial test? Initial test is to determine the ultimate load carrying capacity or the load settlement curve, or we can say PDL curve. Loading will be 2 times the estimated allowable load. So what is the uh, loading we have to give in case of initial test to determine ultimate load? It shall be 2 times the estimated allowable load. And the maximum settlement shall not be greater than 12 for individual piles. In case of pile group, it can be 25 And what is the allowable load? Allowable load for a pile load test. 50% of ultimate load at which settlement is 1 by 10th of a diameter, or 2/3 of ultimate load at which 12 settlement happens, or 2/3 of ultimate load at which 6 net plastic settlement happens. So this is how we have to calculate the allowable load in case of pile load test. So these are some basic important points in regarding pile load test. Now let's move on to sixth question. This is a solution based or numerical type problem. We have to calculate some of the important properties and get the answer. For the 3x3 pile group shown in the figure. So this is the 3x3 pile group. The settlement in a normally consolidated clay. So this clay strata is a normally NC clay, normally consolidated clay, having this much properties. Nothing but the gamma sat. Unit weight of saturated NC clay is given as 20 kilonewton per meter cube, and CC coefficient of compressibility is coefficient of compression is given as 0.27. E naught initial void ratio is given at 1.05. Center to center spacing between piles is 0.5 meter, and one pile dia is given as 200 So we have to find the settlement, the ultimate settlement. Settlement is given by del H. So ultimate settlement of this pile group in NC clay, in this NC clay stratum we have to find. Option A 10.62 option B 11.50 option C 9.75 option D 31.26 You can pause this video and calculate with a calculator and get the answer. Basically, some 2 to 3 important formulas will be used. Ultimately, del H, that is settlement, final settlement formula will be used to find the del H value. So the answer is option A 10.62 Now let's see how it is calculated. So this is how we have to draw the diagram. First, in the first step, we have to convert this as an equivalent raft. So how to convert this as an equivalent raft? This 4 meter is nothing but 2L by 3, 2L by 3, and the remaining is L by 3. What is the remaining part? 2 meter. This one is the 2 meter, that is nothing but L by 3. What is L by 3? 6. 6 by 3 gives the 2 as the answer. 12 by 3 is the 4 meter. So this is how we have to calculate the equivalent, this is how we have to convert a pile group into equivalent raft. So what is this line tells? This line is the center of the clay layer at which we have to find the stress. They have given 9 meter from the ground level to the hard strata. This is the hard strata, this is the ground level, this is the ground level, and this is the hard strata. Hard strata is here from the ground level of about 9 meter, and 6 meter is the length of a pile, and 2L by 3 is the 2L by 3, that is 4 meter from the top ground level, and from which we have to find the equal, we have to find the total stress to the middle of the clay layer. And how it is dispersed? It is dispersed in such a manner that 2H is to 1V. So dispersion is 2 is to 1, 2 horizontal is to 1 vertical. So we have to calculate the stress at this layer, and ultimately we can use this formula. Del H is equal to Cc H naught divided by 1 plus E naught log of sigma E naught, sorry, sigma naught bar plus del sigma bar divided by sigma naught bar. So what is Cc? They have given as 0.27. What is H naught? H naught is nothing but 6 meter in, and what is the, oh sorry, H naught is nothing but clay layer 9 meter. 1 plus E naught. E naught is given as 1.05. Sigma naught bar is the total stress concentrated at the middle of clay stratum. Del sigma bar is the increase in stress due to this load, 800 kilometer load. And on substituting all these values, we can get the answer as 10.62 mm. So first step is to assume the equivalent raft at a distance of 2L by 3 from the top ground level, that is nothing but 4 meter, and load dispersion as 2H is to 1V, that is 2 horizontal to 1 vertical. So what is the compressible layer thickness? So 9 minus 6 plus 6 by 3. So this is the compressible layer thickness. Average stress at center of clay layer is 20 into 6.5. So 20 into 6.5 gives us the average stress, that is nothing but sigma naught bar as 130 kilonewton per meter square, and increased width. So this is the increased width. So how we are calculating this? How we are calculating this? Nothing but B plus Z, because we have assumed as 2 horizontal is to 1 vertical as the dispersion. So this width is B plus Z. So what is B? B here is nothing but the uh, one pile dia is given as 200 mm. So we can take it as 0.2, and center to center spacing as 0.5. So 0.5 plus 0.5 plus 0.2 plus 0.2 here. Sorry, here it is 0.5. Here it is 0.5. So totally here about 1 meter, and here 0.2 by 2, and here 1.2 by 2, so 1.2. So 1.2 is the B value, and Z is 2.5. Z is 2.5. This is the Z value. This is the Z value. Z is 2.5. So B plus Z, that is the increased width, is 3.7 meter for the equivalent raft. So due to load, what is the increase in pressure? So del sigma is equal to 800 divided by the increased width area, and because this is a square plan, that's why we are just squaring the increased width for increased width the data, that is this 3.7 square. If it is a rectangular plan, then we have to calculate B plus Z and L plus Z, and we have to multiply those two values to get the area. 800 by, now here is 800 by 3.7 square. We arrive del sigma bar as 58.44 kilonewton per meter square, and substitute all the known values in this ultimate settlement formula. to get the value 10.62. So this is how we have to approach this type of question. That is, first step we have to convert the file group into an equivalent raft. That is nothing but 2L by 3 from the distance of top ground level, and load dispersion is assumed as 2H is to 1V, and the clay layer and the total stress where that in which the clay layer concentrated is taken as the half of the clay layer, half of the compressible clay layer thickness, and get to know about the average stress and the increased width, and we have to find the increase in load due to the increase in stress due to the external load or building load, and then we have to substitute the all the things in this ultimate settlement formula: Cc h naught by 1 plus E naught log of sigma naught bar plus del sigma bar divided by sigma naught bar. Now let's move on to seventh question. Seventh question is regarding the classification of files based on something. In this question, they have given us function based. Which of the following options are correct regarding function based classification of files? You have to note that function based classification of files. See, files are classified based on various things. For example, it can be classified based on material. Now, in this question, they have given for function based. Option A, anchor files. Option B, friction piles. Option C, sheath piles. Option D, batter piles. So what are the options? See, in this question, this type is a MSQ type. More than one option can be correct. So what are the options among these four options are correct regarding function-based classification of files? Your time starts now. Just think about the correct options. So function-based classification of files are anchor, sheath, batter. So what is the other? What are the other classification of file? Let's see this. Let's see those things. In case of load transfer based, we can classify those as end bearing and friction piles. In case of how the load is transferred, when we said about that, we can classify those piles as whether it can be end bearing or it can be skin friction bearing. Sorry, skin friction piles, or it can be both. It can be both end bearing as well as skin friction. Regarding the function based, we can classify pile as anchor, sheath, tension, compaction piles, fender piles, batter piles. Anchor piles are nothing but they are used for providing anchorage against horizontal pull from sheath piles or retaining walls. Sheath piles are nothing but they are used to retain backfill of soil and support soil in open excavation. And sheath pile also provided below the hydraulic structures to minimize uplift force or to prevent piping failure. What about tension piles? Tension or we can say uplift piles. They are used to resist the uplift force, and this pile may be under a pile can be under tension, and if it resists overturning of walls structurally connected to the pile cap and due to tension developed, these piles can be used as tension piles. And what about compaction piles? These piles are driven in granular soils in order to improve density and bearing capacity. And what about fender piles? Fender piles are used to protect concrete deck or any other waterfront structure from impact which may be caused by the waves generated by ships or floating objects. And what are the batter piles? Finally, based on function, these are driven in inclined direction. So batter piles, you can see in this diagram, these are driven in an inclined direction to resist large horizontal or inclined force. So horizontal force basically can be a wind force, or it can be an earthquake or seismic force. Anything can be. So in order to resist those things, batter piles are provided. And in case of soil displacement, we can classify as displacement and non-displacement. What is the displacement piles? Displacement piles or causes a disturbance of soil. So in the name itself, we can give the meaning. What is the displacement? Soil gets displaced due to driven. So it happens only when driven and cast into piles. In case of non-displacement, it means pile is bored. Pile or bored piles. In case of bored piles, displacement does not happen. And in case of material, we can classify those as timber, steel, concrete, cast iron, and rimmed piles. In timber, we can use bamboo or ebony. So that's it. And in case of installation, we can say driven board, cast institute driven, cast institute board. We can say like this. So this is how we have to classify the piles according to their function, load transfer, displacement of soil, material, and installation. Now let's move on to eighth question. Eighth question. Eighth question is a numerical type. Yeah, they have given some data regarding pile, and we have to calculate the safe load bearing capacity as per engineering news record formula. What they have given: pile length they have given, pile dia they have given, what else? Drop hammer weight given W, free fall height, that is H, they have given. Total penetration what is 40 mm in last 5 blows. You have to read in a very crucial manner. Total penetration is 40 mm in last 5 blows, and factor of safety is given as 6. And empirical factor, that is nothing but C. Empirical factor is given as 2.5 centimeter. So we have to substitute all the things in the ENR formula to get the safe load carrying capacity. So option A, 151.51 kilonewton. Option B, 145.63 kilonewton. Option C, 110.52 kilonewton. Option D, 235.49 kilonewton. So what is the safe load carrying capacity as per engineering news record formula? Pause this video and calculate using a calculator to get the answer. Keep an eye on the total penetration value. So the correct option, that is safe load carrying capacity, is the option A, 151.51 kilonewton. So how it is calculated? Let's see that. So what are the given data we have given? We have already seen. Penetration per blow is the S value. So they have given 40 mm in last 5 blows. We need only per blow. So that's why 40 by 40 divided by 5 gives 8 mm as answer, and we need that value in centimeter, not in mm. So that's why we are converting into centimeter, and in we have to go substitute all the values just in the engineering news record formula. That is nothing but for drop hammer, it is given as safe load carrying capacity as WH by S plus C divided by FOS. So W is known as 20 kilonewton, H is known as 1.5 meter, and that to be converted into centimeter, because we are converting all the things into centimeter only. So that's why everything has to be in centimeter, or everything has to be in meter, or anything. Common notation has to be given. So W 20 kilonewton into 150 centimeter divided by S plus C. S is 0.8 centimeter. C is given as 2.5 centimeter. That is empirical factor. So 151.51 kilonewton. So this is how we have to solve this problem. What are the other formulas regarding this question? In case of double acting steam hammer, this formula is modified into like this: W plus AP into H by S plus C divided by FOS. What is AP? A is the area, P is the steam, P is the pressure of the steam, A is the area exposed. So W plus AP into H divided by S plus C. So this is how we have to calculate in case of steam hammer. So they have given in this question as drop hammer. So that's why we have used this question, this formula. In case if they give double acting steam hammer, we have to use this formula. What is the other formula? Other important one, Hiller's formula. This formula is adapted in IS code, and this formula goes like this: eta H eta B WH by S plus C by 2. here C by 2 happens, and eta H is nothing but the efficiency of hammer, eta B is nothing but the efficiency of hammer blow. H is the hammer, B is the hammer blow. So eta H, eta B, WH by S plus C by 2 into 1 by FOS. Here FOS is given as 3. In the drop hammer and steam hammer formula, FOS can be 6. In case of Healy's formula, or we can say highest code formula, FOS is adopted as 3. So how to calculate the eta B? Eta H is the efficiency of hammer. Uh, it depends on the hammer device. And eta B is the efficiency of hammer blow. How to calculate that? It is calculated by using these two formulas. Eta B is equal to W plus E square P by W plus P. In case of hammer weight, that is W, is greater than EP. What is E? Coefficient of restitution. What is P? P is the load of pile, pile load. We can say that pile load is the capital P. E is nothing but the coefficient of restitution. So W plus E square P by W plus P gives the answer for efficiency of hammer blow in case of W greater than EP. In case of weight of hammer less than or equal to EP, then we have to use this formula: W plus E square P by W plus P minus W plus EP by W plus P the whole square. So this is the basic formulas regarding Healy's formula, and we have to calculate the Q safe. Now let's move on to ninth question. Ninth question is a match the following. You have to match the left and right hand side. Option A, option B, option C, option D. Just read the uh, columns and give the correct match. So the correct option is option D, that is A3, B4, C1, D2. Now let's see the answer. That is nothing but option D, A3, B4, C1, D2. Modulus of subgrade reaction is found by plate load test. Relative density and strength is found by standard cone penetration test. Skin friction and point bearing resistance is found by cycle pile load test. And elastic constant is found by pressure meter test. And let's see some more important points. Pile load test is the most accurate one, and but it is a destructive method. Cyclic pile load test used to calculate skin friction and end bearing separately. So in a separate manner, we can calculate skin friction as well as end bearing capacity. Penetration tests are based on correlations. Correlation is a mathematical functions. Based on those, we have to calculate the capacity in case of penetration test. And pull out test is to determine safe tension. In case of tension or uplift pressure, you have to determine those things. To determine, we are using pull out test. So these are some tests and the parameters that are identified using the corresponding test. Now let's move on to the last question, 10th one. It is based on a pile group, group action of piles. Which of the following statements are correct about group action of piles? Option A, end bearing resistance decreases but skin friction resistance increases. Option B, consolidation settlement is more than in individual action. That means consolidation settlement is of consolidation settlement of group pile is more than in individual action. Option C, pile driving mechanism should start from center and proceed outward. Option D, densification of surrounding soil may increase or decrease the group capacity. So among the four options, what are the correct options or correct statements regarding group action of pile? This is the MSQ type. So your time starts now. Read the options and give the correct options. More than one option can be correct. So the correct statements regarding group actions are B, C, D. That is, consultation settlement is more than consultation settlement for pile group is more than in individual action. It is observed like this only. Pile driving mechanism should start from center and proceed outward. Densification of surrounding soil may increase or it can also decrease. That depends on the action, pile group action and surrounding soil. It always does not increase the group capacity. Not like that. It may increase or it may decrease the group capacity due to the densification of surrounding soil. This is the now let's see the more important points regarding this. End bearing resistance does not decrease in group action. In the first option A, they have given us end bearing resistance decrease in group action. But it does not like that. It does not decrease. It always increase. End bearing resistance increases in group action. Group settlement is more because of overlapping. So why this option B? Because of overlapping. This is the overlapping. Because of overlapping of individual influenced zones, group settlement is more. So this is all about the group action of piles. We are at the end of this video. If you like this video, please like this video, comment and share the video to your friends. Thank you. Thanks for watching.